Hello everyone, I'm Giuseppe Nella from DualShockers.com, and we are here with Joel Bylos from FunCon. Is the game director of Conan Exiles. Hello, Joel.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. What about you?
Yeah, great. Friday afternoon.
Yeah, you've been traveling a bit lately because you had GDC. Then I think you came back and you had other people at PAX East, right?
Yeah, I came back after GDC, and then the lead designer was at PAX.
Yeah, too much work, right?
Oh yeah, GDC it's a week standing in a box doing presentations.
Oh yeah,
so,
we saw you. There was a video online, but we heard some quite interesting facts about from GDC, from quite interesting future perspectives for the game. But they actually left a lot of, especially the service I play on, they let a lot of questions. Like,
yeah.
People are like, you gave the broad strokes, right? And
yeah,
people are like, oh, I want more detail. I want to know about this, about this, about this, about this. That's how it is with online game, especially. Even if this isn't exactly an MMORPG, the attitude is the same, right?
Yeah, I mean we have a plan for the year, but we want to be able to react as well. So it's important that we don't have every detail nailed down, so we can change things.
Exactly. Let's start with something. A little bit like a little detail, but that's giving people a lot of questions because
Sure.
it's new. Like 2 days ago, we got a new patch with the decay system, but it's still not finished. It appears like it works, and it's actually great. I actually love the fact that they can finally clean up some clutters because some servers are a little cluttered. But there is a problem with like small placeables that people place not on foundations, like wells, for instance, that cannot be placed on foundations, or things that are placed like on tables, for instance. They don't share the same decay timer of the whole build, so they decay in 7 hours, something like that, and that's too fast. So do you guys have a plan in place for that? What's gonna happen?
So. I've changed the name. I don't want to call it the decay system. I call it the ruin system because things don't decay. I don't want to give people an impression that building pieces get lower hit points over time.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So I changed the name recently to the ruin system just to make sure that it's clear to people. The idea is that things like the small placeables, that's the reason we didn't actually put the system in the patch notes and we didn't enable it on official servers, is because we know that we want to tweak the numbers on all of those things. Because the idea is every piece has a score.
Yeah.
And that score determines how long the timer will be before it. And we knew that things like campfires, wells, bedrolls, we knew we hadn't done a balance pass to make sure that they were correct. So when we patched and we said, well, the code is there and server admins can enable it, but we won't talk about it and we won't actually officially enable it until we're ready with the balance. So we're doing that. So that should be fine next week.
Next week? That's great.
Next week we should be turning on the ruin system. We'll give out a blog post explaining exactly how it works, and we will enable it, and we'll make sure that it's, there'll probably be things we need to tweak. That's kind of what's nice about early access. People will tell us loudly what they want us to change. But
definitely.
We will try to it's one of the main things I said was a problem with the system because I made a character and I went out and I placed a campfire and a bedroll and then I logged out and the next day when I came back they were gone because they disappeared overnight. So It is a balance thing and we're fixing it. So it should be fine next week hopefully, or at least much better. So
awesome. Yeah, I actually love the idea of the system because, with a game like this, a lot of people just log in, they put down foundations, they log off, and then they disappear or they decide to just settle somewhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Until yesterday, I had some enormous pavement right in front of my base. It was just a pavement of foundations, and it was just there, and no one touched it, and I didn't want to just use a ton of explosives to blow it up.
Yeah, of course.
So I actually had to call the admin, and she blew it up for me.
You play on a private server, I guess?
Yeah, I play on a private server for now because the community, it's like a role-play server. So
yeah, that's great.
I play with a bunch of role players. That's kind of my drift. In fact, I'm gonna probably ask you about what if you think about things that support roleplay and stuff like that? Your game is growing up quite the roleplay community, I noticed, and people are happy about some things. People would like to something different. Actually, I'm gonna ask you something that was suggested by my server admin, because my server, as many other roleplay servers, this is kind of a common rule. They have a rule that forbids offline raids. Basically, people can raid each other, but only when they are online. And for now, there are no server settings that support it. And there are no ways to understand who raided someone, it's totally fine and totally justified for players. Like, if I'm a player, I shouldn't be able to know directly who destroyed my stuff, right? Because I wasn't there. But sure. Admins would like, even outside of roleplay servers and outside of these rules, would like some deeper logging tools. So to be able to just policy their servers and enforce the rules, right? Because many have rules that go beyond the actual server rules that they can automatically do. So, are you guys planning any deeper logging tools so that admins can see what happened precisely and enforce their own rules?
So, on the logging side, I actually don't know what the coders are planning to expose there and what's not exposed. Mm-hmm. I do know that when we do the Siege update, we're planning to add more clan mechanics, so you can know when a clan has attacked your base. It's a declaration of war.
Gotcha.
Things like this. We do have PvP windows. I'm sure you know about that, right?
I do.
So that wasn't really a feature we advertised. We should have talked probably more directly about what that was. But we do have time windows for PvP, and we do have settings for like windows where you can destroy buildings and windows where you can't destroy buildings and things like that.
Yeah, that works. That works when you have a server that's highly regionalized, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? But I think some deeper tools for login would let because especially servers like RP servers have like very strict rules for certain things.
Yeah.
So admins would like to be able to know what's going on, because you can really policy your servers if you don't know for sure what happened. You have to go with eyewitnesses that are a little bit iffy sometimes. So just leaving that with you as a suggestion.
Yeah, I'll check with the coders. There is some commands when you're on the client that enable extra logging.
Gotcha.
But I don't remember off the top of my head which such commands are.
You're the director. You delegate sometimes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, well, I'm handling mostly the design, and then we have a tech team that handles the code side of things.
Gotcha.
So I work with them, but yeah. But I can follow up on the logging for you for sure.
Thank you. So let's talk about one of my favorite thing in the game, which is trolls. Trolls are like, first of all, why did you decide to call it trolls and not just go with slaves? They're slaves after all.
Well, that was not me. That was just marketing PR commentary that maybe slaves wouldn't be that popular in places like America, and that's fair enough.
That's true. That's fair enough.
And
I think about that.
Thralls is a good old Norsk, like Viking type. It's a Norwegian or a Norrent word from back in the day, which basically means slave. But so we just went with Thralls.
That's right. I'm European, and so sometimes exactly. I don't think about the North American point of view.
Exactly, and I think it makes people less people feel uncomfortable saying, "Oh, I captured a slave today," as opposed to, "Oh, I captured a thrall."
Oh, on my server, no one does.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone is like, "Oh yeah, I've got myself this beautiful little dancer slave, yay!" Anyway, well, could I call them Pokemon? Because they kind of like what they are, right?
Yeah, of course.
A little more savage kind of Pokemon. Did you guys actually think that people would go crazy with collecting, with the idea of having a collection of trolls? Because that's really strong on the collecting side.
Yes, we so when we were designing the game, one of the questions that we kept getting asked by not necessarily the design team, but people outside of the company who knew what we were making, kept saying to us, like, I know that Ark is about collecting dinosaurs. What are you collecting in your game? and I was saying, well, the thing about Robert E. Howard and Conan is super strong is like all these cultures. And we said, how can you make it so that people can bring the culture back to their house, their base, right? Because it's a freeform building game. How can we bring cultures into our buildings? And then we said, well, you know, it makes sense to have slaves and thralls in this world. So you capture a Zamorian dancer who dances in the Zamorian style, or you bring back and they have a Zamorian outfit.
Gotcha.
And you capture a Sumerian blacksmith who teaches you how to do Sumerian weapons, and you capture a Stygian, you know, bronzesmith who teaches you how to do different. So the idea was just we wanted to bring in the cultural feeling of the Howard world, and we wanted to allow players to collect those. So it's basically about collecting cultures on some level, which I think is kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm addicted to it. Like,
and you know, everything we do will include thralls going forward. Like like we're doing the siege update. You're going to need to get particular types of thralls to help you to craft certain types of siege weapons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of the idea is that these are a collection mechanic. And they give people something to do. They give people repeatable content because it's not just about finding the tier 1 thrall. It's about finding the legendary and best thrall. And the Purge is going to bring a lot of that. So yeah, it's a mechanic. It's at the moment I feel like it's very basic, and we're going to keep building on it all the way through development. So
yeah, it's like a good pacemaker for your gameplay too. Like how I play, I just go out and while I look for a troll, I level up and I get resources and whatnot. But like my first priority is looking for a good troll in my outing from my base, basically.
Absolutely.
So we heard at GDC that you had merchants troll in mind.
Yes.
And other kind of entertainers like musicians and singers, right?
Yes. Actually, so next week's update. Is full of custom animation.
New dances.
So now they'll be doing what they should be doing at their stations, most of them.
Ah, that's awesome. So new dances too, maybe?
I don't know if we updated the dances, but like not all because they're entertainer thralls, right? They're not all supposed to dance.
Ah, okay.
Supposed to play drums.
Gotcha, yes.
The veneer, like the Nordheimer type thralls that are entertainers are supposed to be like singing,
gotcha,
art tales. So the idea is again like it's this culture thing. We want to bring it in. So awesome. We launched with dancing thralls because they were the easiest and fastest.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll bring in different types of entertainer. So some next week we'll have new animation smiths and all that sort of stuff. We'll be doing.
Are going to hammer away.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any other professions that you can like into? Are going to come besides those? Like for trolls, I mean. Oh,
you mean next week or just in general?
No, in general. And next week would be like we're not that demanding.
I can't remember if the alchemist is in yet. We have.
It's not. There is a cook. Like you use the cook in the alchemy station in the fire pot.
So there's an alchemist thrall coming with the dying system.
Oh yeah, nice.
Now I have to remember if the alchemist is actually with the dying system or if he comes slightly later. Either way, there's an alchemist thrall coming. There's an engineer thrall coming. There'll be a Beastmaster thrall for helping.
Oh, nice.
There'll be a Sorcerer thrall to help you learn sorcery when we eventually do that. There'll be, in the mountain biome when we add that, there's going to be a bunch of new thralls. So we're going to keep adding them.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Is the dice system going to come next week?
The dice system will be in the patch next week, yeah.
Awesome, that's great. That's something a lot of people have been waiting for.
It's in the patch, and then there's 8 new weapons in the patch.
Can you say which one?
Well, it's skins of weapons we have. We've revamped the entire crafting system, so we'll reset everybody's crafting feats when it launches, and you'll start with points. So whatever level you are, you have points to that level.
Oh yeah, of course. Your respect, basically.
Yeah. So we've revamped the entire progression in the crafting system and the way that works. We've added, for example, like Warhammers, there's now steel versions, ancient versions. There's a new type of spear.
Awesome.
So there's a bunch of new weapon types that are, I mean, they're types, their archetype exists in the game already, but they're new stats. We've rebalanced weapons, so there's going to be some interesting gameplay stuff around that, I think. So there's a bunch of new things in next week's patch.
Awesome, that's great. We will also get like the ability to respect them comfortably, because the yellow Lotus Potion is bugged, from what we heard. Actually, you guys put a message not to use it because it was bagged. Is that going to be like staying in the game, or we're going to get another system for that?
No, I mean, we'll fix the potion.
Fixed? Good.
Well, I don't know if it's 100% fixed. Now you're making me. Now I've got to go check the bug
Okay.
system, because I knew it was a few weeks ago. It was only reliably working part of the time.
Oh yeah.
It didn't 100% work. Some people it worked when they put it in their hotbar, but didn't work if they used it from their inventory. Some people it worked used it from their inventory, but didn't work if they had it in their hotbar, and we were trying to figure out why.
So so that was the problem. It was not that you like kind of broke your card or something.
I don't know. It just yeah. We just didn't.
Okay.
We knew it didn't work 100% of the time, so sometimes people would lose the item and not get the respec.
Gotcha. So that's actually something that's interesting to me. Is the plan going forward to let people respect whenever they want, like that? Like, just make a potion and respect whenever you want? Or are there going to be limits in the future to that?
No, I think people will be able to respec whenever they want if they have the potion.
No, that's good.
I think that we might put a cooldown time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is so much variation in this game that it's nice to let people like experience different things, maybe, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the idea for us was that we don't want you to have to. We made the leveling curve quite harsh, right? Like
yes.
It takes a while to get to 50, right? So we didn't want people to have to reset their progress just to try out new crafting things.
Absolutely.
But our goal is to eventually make it so that you can craft everything with one character.
Mm-hmm. You can.
We want eventually one day.
Oh, nice.
We don't feel like it's. It encourages multiplayer play, right? To have people. Course. But I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, so still speaking a bit about trolls. That this is about next week. The next week patch is very exciting. One thing I would like is a deeper degree of control on your trolls. For instance, yes. I have a lot of archers, and at the moment I'm not in a clan because I like to be a little lone wolf for now.
Yep.
So basically, every time someone walks in front of my base, they get turned into a pincushion, and they get angry at me.
Yeah.
So will I be able, for instance, in the future, to tell my archers shoot only mobs or animals, or don't shoot anyone, just stay there and wait until I tell you to actually attack people, or something like that?
Yeah, that is our hope, is to be able to create basically we want to be able to create an AI system for Thralls that you can customize.
Yeah.
It's a long-term goal though, so it's not something we'd be able to do in a short amount of time.
Gotcha.
But it is the plan to be able to do things like tell Thralls, yes, this is a friend, this is an enemy, train them to do that, have them, take shifts on the wall. We want Thralls to eventually, they need to eat, so you have to have food deposits for them to eat from, things like that. So, and barracks for them to sleep in. So the idea for us is that we want people to build not just one base with a keep. We want them to build like a village or a town.
Yeah, that's great. The settlement system is one of the most interesting things you talked about so far. Basically, you're gonna have like a little village sim city in the game, basically.
Yeah. You say you play solo, right? So the idea would be that you can still have a village that feels like it's alive, even though you play there on your own.
Exactly. One thing that's interesting also. Will we be able to equip our trolls? For instance, they come with their own equipment and their clothes and whatever they have by themselves, and you can change anything out of it.
Yeah, that's the plan is to allow that. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like there's going to be a lot of micromanagement of these trolls, which is good for me actually.
I think it's both, right? Because the idea is that the Thralls, especially when we get to this advanced AI stuff, the idea is that you can set up Thralls that basically automate some of the crafting processes, so you don't have to do things. So you can have Thralls that their only thing is to bring food and put food in a well, so that the other thralls can eat that food.
That's great. Like, for instance, will we be able to like send the trolls to gather materials like rock or wood or whatever?
We're discussing how much of that we want to do, because it does eat into the exploration part of the game.
Of course.
But yeah, it's the idea, at least, is to come up with ways to automate the simplest processes in the game for you.
What about having some of them like follow us, like combat pets?
Yes, we talked about that as well. The sort of the idea with that, I think, might be something we keep for the Purge.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like you capture legendary companions who maybe are characters from Conan stories, or at least characters mentioned in Conan stories.
Yeah, and they follow you around.
Yeah, and then maybe they follow you around, and maybe they have dialogue. It's a little more like, you know, a Skyrim or a Bioware type game.
Fantastic. As long as they don't walk like Lydia.
Well, I can't say that they won't right now, but we'll do our best.
Okay, so something that's also many people are looking forward to are mounts.
Yes.
But you guys have been a little tight-lipped on when they're going to come, and some people are wondering if they're going to come like with the first biome, or they're going to come earlier than that. Because it's the map is not super big, but it still takes quite a while to get from one side to the other.
Sure. So I think mounts will probably be either right before the first biome comes, or right after, or with.
Okay.
Right? I'm not sure.
Gotcha. So it's gonna be that period anyway, like end of the summer, beginning of fall.
Yeah, summer, late summer, I think. We originally had them in the plan to be the first thing we did, but we changed that because we thought that, exactly what you say. Like, a lot of people have not been complaining that it's hard to get around on the map.
No, it's not.
And
it's
we
just
thought, when we add extra space, that's when mounts will be more needed. I wouldn't mind. We might put in like a test mount earlier for people to try out, like, you know, like a camel that follows you and you can fill with inventory.
That would be great.
We might try that before we say, like, here's the full mount system. The idea with the big updates that I talked about at GDC, they might not all come in one patch. We might do it like so that we say, okay, here's one thing from that update first, and test how that feels, and then change the way that we do the rest of the update based on how players like something.
That's a good part of your early access, right? You're not really locked into a very strict patching cycle. You can pretty much do whatever you want. As long as people get new things, it's good, right?
Yeah, I think the one thing I think is really important is that the first, we've been fixing a lot of exploits and bugs and stability in the game the last while, but starting next week we're patching content almost every week going forward now.
That's incredible. Yeah. I've seen people like quite happy about the content, the initial content. Maybe less about the bugs. I think a lot of people still don't realize what early access is. Like,
I mean, it's okay I think it's fine for people to be annoyed that their experience is interrupted by bugs. It's actually good for us. The more people who are annoyed, the more noise they make, and the more we understand how important this is.
Oh yeah, we're all playtesters pretty much, right?
Yeah, exactly, and it really helps. It's like we had this dupe exploit that's been a big deal on the official servers, right? And we were able to fix that, and we were able to find these things very quickly. But
thanks to the players.
Thanks to the players. But like it's not a problem with the inventory as much as a problem with the death system in the game, which means we need to revamp the entire death system to make this more robust. And we wouldn't get that information if we were just fixing a dupe. Like, we actually get that information from seeing how players do things as well.
Exactly. That sounds like someone in coding in your coding department at the rip his hair off, something like that. It was so deep into the system, right?
Yeah. No, it's like one way we did something was poorly thought through during the run up to launch, and then we see, okay, this causes all these other problems. If we fix the core, then we fix the rest.
Awesome.
It's great for us.
Let's talk a little bit about the Purge, which is something that's very interesting for many people, especially for people on PvE servers or on roleplay servers, because that's something that has the like the potential to like bring together the server, even people that like to roleplay, for instance, and stuff like that. Like, give me an idea, how big is the army of the Purge gonna be, and like from what side of the map they're gonna start? Are they gonna sweep like a horde of Mongols or something like that?
I'm thinking more like a column, like an army in columns, right?
Okay.
So more like a formation type column. Where they start will be randomized, I think.
Great.
Probably not south, because that's where new players start.
Yeah, I'm north, right at the edge.
But they'll form up. The idea is that there might be different versions of the Purge. So sometimes it might be like wild barbarians sweeping in to attack just wildly everything. And there might be like the organized troops coming in an army with officers.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And so our plan for the Purge, which I must confess is still mostly on paper, because we're not focusing on Purge until after we've done the Siege update. But the idea is that these guys come in, they, in some way or another, we figure out who are the most powerful people or who have the biggest base on the server, and they will probably go towards that base.
Gotcha.
And then that will be people who need to defend themselves. We're talking about, all of the watchtowers will start burning a different color maybe 2 days before the Purge starts. So it gives everybody on the server a warning that the Purge is coming.
I'm guessing admins will have like the ways to decide how often it counts, maybe?
Yeah, they could probably set a Purge window. We talked about they can also disable it completely so that it doesn't happen.
Like avatars.
Yeah, exactly, like avatars. And so the idea is that the Purge is coming, it's bringing with it all these rare NPCs that you can't get anywhere else. So some level you want to go and attack the Purge.
Of course.
But the Purge will be very difficult to do on your own, so you need to bring friends, hopefully, or at least, figure out to pick off people.
Okay. That's something that's interesting for me is when the Purge will be implemented compared to other things. Like, is it something like we get the siege system, then the Purge, then the new biome, something like that? Or
so we're actually working on a survey. Sorry, we're working on a survey to send to players, which is basically all the things that I spoke about at GDC, and then asking them to rank which order they want them in.
That's smart.
So then we can see which and adjust our plans to what players would like. The new biome is mostly coming late summer.
Yeah, that's fixed, I guess, because there is a lot of assets to do.
It's a lot of artwork and a lot of and also because when we launch Xbox, it will be on the new biome will be there. So we're not going to launch Xbox until the biome is finished, so that they go together to Xbox. So yeah, that's the biome I can safely say is late summer. The other features, the siege, we're working on the siege right now, so I guess like that probably won't change much in location. But the others can be moved around really, because they're mostly designed on paper. We have a lot of the sort of the pre-production of those things done, but they're simple to move them from place to place. If people want mounts before they want the Purge, we can push the mounts forward. If people want sorcery before they want mounts, we can push sorcery forward. It's likely people want pieces of all of them, and I'll be very interested to see what the survey says. But it's no problem for us.
Yeah, with the coming of the new biome, there is a problem. Not a problem. There is like a choice that you guys have to make in development, which is something some way akin to like in MMORPGs. How do we make people progress? Like, is the new biome going to be higher level? So it's going to be everything like going vertically, higher level cap. Everything is going to be higher tier recipes, like tier 4, tier 5, or we're going to see more like of a horizontal development, so that maybe you get some tiers in the middle between what we have. Maybe we get, I don't know, log buildings. Wooden buildings that we don't have for now, or stuff like that, and maybe more stuff for people in between level 1 and 50 instead of everything for people over 50.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think there'll be higher level creatures that are harder, and you'll need resources from those creatures. But like the buildings, for example, we probably won't go above tier 3, but we'll probably do 3 new tier types that look visually very different, right? So the Sumerian buildings, which there's log and wood, and we might do like the the Nordheimer type buildings, which is like black rock and ice on the outside, and with the temperature system, the buildings might have additional properties. So you might need to build a certain type of building in the desert that keeps you cooler.
Absolutely.
So there is room for horizontal progression, but I do think we'll probably add, for example, new weapon types, and maybe a new tier of metal. We might add
meteoric iron or something like that.
Yeah, star metal as So we might add something like that in the mountains, and then that will be a rare resource, and then there'll be a new. All weapons will have a star metal variation, and then new thralls who can only do star metal. I mean, that's one example of like 100 things we can do in the biome.
Of course, absolutely. I'm sure a lot of the plans for these are still a little bit like floating, right?
The biome's fairly well. Fairly well documented. I know we know what we're doing, but of course it's. Like the artists are actually working on the biome now because it takes a.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of less asset work to do. A lot of like
just height map as well.
Exactly.
The map is. You can see the shape of the map today, but it's not close to what it will look like when we launch the biome. So
something that's interesting, like if I go to the new biome and I go to the highest mountain where Crom resides, and can I actually see the desert from there?
I mean, there's a thing called a concept of distance fog in the game, right? Of course. It'd be about the same sight levels that you get right now in the desert, I guess. I mean, you can see the shape, but I don't think you can see the
like people going around, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess you can. I guess it's the same as spawning Yogg and then flying up with Yogg to see how far you can see. It's roughly the same thing. You'll be able to see quite a way, but I don't know. You'll be able to see the desert. I don't know if you'll be able to make out like individual things in the desert.
Okay. But what is there going to be Hymir? You say new gods, and I think that's pretty much the god that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so I mean, we have a faction already in the desert who worship Jebel Sag. So Jebel Sag, Ymir is one of the ones definitely that we have on the list. I have Zat.
Okay.
The spider god from Zamoria. We have a lot of spiders, so I have a few. There's a few different gods. We talked about Durketo.
Durketo, yeah, of course. We have a lot of Durketo worshippers in our server for some reason. I don't know why. Those always tend to pop up in roleplay servers.
Yeah, funnily enough. So so we have a few. So we have a few gods in mind. I'm not sure. Like the new biome will come with at least one new god, but we might push it 1 or 2 gods before that as well. So
that's interesting. Yeah. Are we going to see something more special for Crom? At the moment, Crom is like kind of the atheist, the atheist option of the game.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to say too much about that, but maybe.
So you have something in mind.
I have some thoughts.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Crom doesn't listen. He doesn't care. And the hell with him.
What if Crom is he doesn't listen and he doesn't care, but he just occasionally kills other people's avatars?
Yeah, that's an interesting way.
So Crom, you maybe get some free defense.
That's
against
good.
Avatar.
What I'm thinking about is there always going to be complete freedom of how many gods you worship? Or as we increase the number of gods, people will have to choose sometimes between them?
So we're expanding the religion system. Some of the things that we wanted to do aren't there. Like Mitra, for example, should heavily discourage you from worshipping other gods.
Especially Set.
Yeah, exactly. But if you worship Mitra, you shouldn't be able to place other god shrines anywhere near Mitra's shrine.
Okay.
It should be like a 500-meter exclusion radius.
That sounds reasonable.
And then if you place Mitra's statues out, the statues you can craft, they also prevent you from crafting any other shrines nearby.
It seems a little overpowered at the moment. Like they make
What's that, sorry?
They make wells completely like redundant, I guess.
Mitra?
Meta status.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, we want people to have some reason to worship all the religions. But the idea with Mitra is that Mitra is a very expansionist god, and very monotheistic compared to the other gods.
Yeah.
So the idea is that if you start worshipping Mitra, Mitra doesn't want you to worship anyone else. So Mitra's shrine will make you put other shrines further away. Eventually.
At least don't do it right in front of his face.
Yeah, exactly. So it's stuff like that. We have these ideas for the mechanics. I mean, but there is nothing really in the stories. The gods are a bit of, I want to say they're a bit of a extrapolation from the stories, because obviously in the stories there isn't
much.
Yeah, so we needed a mechanic for the game that we thought was really unique and interesting. So we came with god avatars. So yeah, I want to make the avatars and the religion system very strong and very competitive in a way. The gods compete with each other. We have this idea of a doctrine system where you create like the for example Set. You know, Set says never kill snakes. Right? So you put a buff on yourself that is you committing to never killing snakes, and then you get a buff that lasts as long as you never kill a snake.
What about if snakes attack you? Or maybe Set Worshipper would be able to not be attacked by snakes.
Well, maybe they become immune to a poison while they're wearing that.
Interesting, interesting.
So there's an idea of these doctrines, and we're going to work on that as well. But that's like... So when I was at GDC, I talked about these big updates, but and I saw some people were disappointed because I didn't talk about combat or I didn't talk about AI. But people have to remember, we will work on AI and combat like every week. Yeah. Combat is a big deal to us. We're still fixing small bugs all the time, and then hopefully making some revamp to the way the system works.
Yeah, interestingly, is the way fatalities, let's say, work intended like this to be so over the top? I love them. I absolutely find them endearing. Because
you mean the way you explode?
Yeah, the way you explode, and you the fact that the ragdoll system is very exaggerated.
Yes. And in fact, the idea is to make the ragdoll system. So it's something I took from Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. If you play the game, the idea is to make the ragdoll system apply even when you're alive. So you know, right now we have a knockdown animation. Yeah. But I want to make knockdowns ragdoll you, so that you can knock people off cliffs and knock people down slopes and have them roll all the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been pushing for that for a while, but we just didn't manage to finish it for early access launch.
Yeah, ragdolls are kind of wild to work with, so it needs a little bit of work to make it work correctly, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is that, you know, like we'll be adding things like you can throw oil on the ground and people will slip in the oil and you know, ragdoll for a little while, and that's when, you know. The idea is to make the game very sandbox, like to give you these tools that you can use to, you know, to really mess with people.
Kind of like the new Zelda.
Sorry?
Kind of like the new Zelda.
Yeah, it kind of annoys me because I love the new Zelda. I've been playing it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is exactly the combat design for our game that we were talking about last year. Like the way that you can roll the bombs down the hill, the way that you can light grass on fire, and it's stuff we've been talking about the whole year.
Darn Nintendo. Now people are going to say that you copied them.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, there's some stuff. There's definitely some Zelda-like stuff coming that I think people will enjoy.
Great. Awesome. A system that people are talking a lot about is the road system. And you say that people are going to be able to build road between outposts so they get a 50% buff in their speed if they...
Yeah, 50% was just a number I threw out. I don't know what it'll...
Let's say a certain buff in their speed to when they walk on road, but is there going to be everyone's road or just your roads? Is there going to be a claim system, a propriety system or something like that? Or...
No, I think it will be everybody's road when you build it.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah, so basically you're not going to claim land when you put down a road. You're just going to put down a road for everyone, right?
Yes. You build roads between your buildings, your cities, whatever, and everybody can use that road. And in fact, I want everybody to use that road because then
people
it encourages
ambushes, stuff like that.
It encourages people to come to a place and give people, a conflict point, or at least, even if it's just like that, people will form naturally. Like cities form around highways.
Yes.
They form around roads. They form around natural elements, features that fit. And in a world that we're trying to create, I want that to be a natural thing. So giving people roads and the ability to make roads faster than just walking through the forest, it's exactly the same as you get in real life, where people use roads because they're much more convenient.
The only thing that worries a few people I'm talking with is that how the land claim system works in a way that when you build near, for instance, NPC settlements, those NPCs stop spawning, and that's a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
That's mostly fixed.
Okay.
There might be camps. We put blocking volume so you can't do that around most of the camps, but it might still be happening in a few places where we didn't get the volumes large enough.
Yeah.
So we might fix that in some places, but yeah, of course we don't want that. And
yeah, because so a lot of the admin work I'm seeing these poor guys do is like going around destroying stuff that's blocking NPC spawns, even like in smaller camps, for instance. There is a lot of because trolls are important. And if you block them, people don't have trolls to hunt.
Yeah, exactly. It's the idea was that even the thralls have capitals, right? So there will always be thralls in the capital cities, or the capitals, like the Stygian city in the north.
Yeah, exactly.
You have Dafari capital, which is where the big altar is, and you have the pirate ship.
Yeah, my favorite hunting spot.
Yeah, so these are places where people should never be able to block anything.
Absolutely.
There should always be thralls there. But that, again, I don't think it's bad, at least on a PvP server, to create these locations where it's natural that players go there a lot, so they create conflict points for players.
Yeah, absolutely. The road system, of course, will have its own building tile, I'm guessing, because the foundations we have now, they don't really follow terrain or something like that.
I think it's going to use a spline system, so yes, it'll be more like Roller Coaster Tycoon than.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. Talk about carts too, having a moving foundation and building on it. But are there going to be something like actual carts going around?
Yeah, I mean, one of the mounts we talked about was a chariot.
Chariot,
so,
that's nice.
Very Stygian, but yeah, we think we can do stuff like that. So it's on my list. I don't know if it'll get, I can't guarantee in 100% that this will make it in the game or not. But
of course,
we definitely have
there is always ideas, and then there is what can be done and cannot be done.
And that's also important to note. Like when we make the siege tower, that you can push to the base of the, this moving foundation. I mean, then we've made half the step to make a cart. So then it's not that hard to do once we have that.
Once you have the moving foundations, then you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Will going a bit back to the Purge for a second, will the Purge actually use siege weapons?
That will depend on how hard it is for us to do that, I guess.
Yeah, because there is a lot of people, for instance, that build their bases on mountains, and I challenge any AI to come and take my base if they can.
Well, we're going to solve that. Don't worry. The siege patch solves the mountain building issue. The thing is, it's one thing I see on the forums a lot. People say, "Oh, I built my base in a place where people couldn't reach, and then they reached it and wrecked my stuff." Mm-hmm. There is no unreachable place in Conan. It never will be. Our philosophy is everything should be reachable.
Oh yeah, but what I'm more because players are crafty. Players can do stuff that you don't imagine. What the Purge is going to be AI. So I'm thinking you guys need to probably have a lot of plans to improve AI, because at the moment I don't think NPCs can walk upstairs.
Well, sure, they can't walk up player built stairs because they're nav built. But there's stuff we can do. Don't worry, I have plans.
Okay,
we're actually working on a feature that players will get that NPCs will also be able to use for the siege system. So it'll be, and then you'll see.
Yeah, I'm quite interested because sometimes at the moment if you are pursued by some AI, you just walk on a foundation and you're fine.
Yeah.
At least as long as the foundation holds, you're absolutely fine. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting, especially for people that are on PvE and are more PvE oriented and they want a little bit more of a threat. I'm actually very excited for it. It's probably one of the things that I'm most excited about, besides the settlement system.
The settlement systems, it's cool, but it's a lot of work as well.
Oh yeah, I imagine that's probably the most complicated thing you have planned at the moment. I imagine.
That's why it's the last thing on the slide.
Okay, so we probably shouldn't expect that before the winter, I guess.
No, that one's a bit further out.
Further than the winter too?
Well, it's the update that I pushed furthest back in my plans. It depends on if we do this survey and people say, "Hey, we want this as soon as possible," then maybe it will get pushed up.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, it's the most complicated, and I guess it plays into a lot of other systems too. So in the end,
it does, but it's I don't know. Like, there's advantages to developing certain other things first, so that we get that for the settlement system. But I mean, we can, the nice thing is being able to pivot and do things that players want us to do. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I have one little question before we move on, which is not about like featured, but I have a few colorblind friends and they are asking me if there are going to be colorblind options for the game in the future.
Wow, could you specifically tell me where they're having trouble?
Actually, there are a few different ways. Like, some people have trouble with the health bar and things like that, for instance. So it's a little bit complicated because there are different kinds of colorblind people, right?
Yeah, well, there's a website that allows you to put your UI into it, and you can switch between different types of colorblind types and check. And we did this check at one point.
And it worked.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that could have been better, but it was not terrible. But let me...
No, it's not that they're telling me they are a terrible problem with the games, It's mostly that they want options. Like, for instance, they be able to change the color of the UI.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you a link actually to this.
Awesome.
It's just a way of, you can test these things, and yes, we will try to test more of this.
Yeah, no, it's more like, people like options, and if you put options like the ability to change color on your own, you pretty much solve the problem, right?
Yep.
Because in the end, if a color doesn't work for you, you can just change it. I know that's probably going to be something long term because we are in early access, of course. So another thing that gets asked a lot, especially in my server, is the chat system. Like, the chat system is a little bit bare bones at the moment. There are no tabs. There are no private message, for instance, the ability to message someone privately outside of a guild clan chat. Is there something like that? Is there going to be the ability to privately message someone in the future, for instance?
We haven't really thought about it. One thing we wanted to add with the chat system is text bubbles over your head.
Okay.
So it's good for role players.
Yeah.
The chat system, it's not really a focus at the moment, I will say.
Okay.
I would like to get more feedback on it so that we can make changes to it. It's something the coders implemented. It's on the code team, so I would push them to do more. More.
Just do a survey, and I'm sure people will give you all sort of opinions.
Yeah, exactly. We have. I know we've done some improvements to it, like being able to scroll it properly.
Oh yeah, that helped a lot.
But yeah, you're right. The private message thing, I think, I can't remember. We had a discussion about that, and I think somebody said that was against the nature of this type of game.
Was it?
Have private messing.
That's interesting, I guess.
They were saying that you should. I think it was the old one of the old producers who was here. He's still here. He's just away because he had a baby.
Gotcha. Well, in the end, at the moment, the chat. The way I see now, the chat at the moment basically forces people to use Discord or stuff like that outside the game.
Sure, and that's not good.
Because that they have to have other ways to coordinate stuff like that. So the more featured they come, the better for people to overall. But yeah, of course.
And that's a fair comment. But then the question from us would be, if Discord has already got all these features and is better, maybe we should just
that's also a fair way to say it, of course.
Because maybe you guys want us to focus on making the gameplay more interesting. Of course, I'd love to do both. It's just there's always a question of what should be prioritized in development.
are you guys staffing up? Because I know your team is not giant, but at the moment the game is like successful. So I'm guessing you guys are getting funds, are getting like more investment, stuff like that, and more people mean more hands on the game, faster development, but like better QA and stuff like that. So are you guys staffing up at the moment?
We are. If you go to funcom.com/jobs, I can send you a link as well. We have a bunch of jobs out. So it's really important that people know. I like being pretty clear about this. There's an American office of Funcom and a Norwegian office.
Okay.
The American office does not work on Conan Exiles except for the quality assurance team.
Okay.
And the Norwegian office does not work on Age of Conan or Secret World or any of the MMOs. So we're staffing up in both places, but the jobs in Oslo are the ones on Conan Exiles, working on Conan Exiles. So we are hiring a bunch of programmers, some art guys, animators. So we're trying to staff up a little bit. But the other thing is we don't want to staff up to like too many people.
Yeah.
Because then, I mean, sure, the game paid for itself in the first week, but it has to keep paying for us.
Of course.
So we don't want to throw all the money in the world at it. Immediately, we need to start. We need to have a budget and be intelligent about how we make our updates, and we really need to hire just the positions that we feel is lacking.
Yeah, so guys, you heard him. If you think you have the thing, I'm going to actually have the link to the jobs opportunity side in the article. So if you guys think you have what it takes and you want to help out with Conan Exiles, you know where to go now. I think people read my preview and they know that I actually like it a lot. It's taking a lot of my nights and my few sleep hours are going away on Conan Exiles, hunting for sexy dancers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
understood. Sorry?
No, that's understood. I'll add more sexy dances for you.
Oh, thank you. But actually more variety in the dancing. It would be very welcome. Because they're a little masculine in the moment in the way they dance.
Yeah, we have it's just the male dance from Age of Conan, actually.
Exactly.
It's funny because we put it in as a temporary animation, and then we ended up just leaving it there because it was funny.
Well, it's also like early access. So.
But so there will be more. Like I say, next week with the patch, there should be a whole bunch of new animations on Thralls, which I think will be pretty.
Okay, that's also. What's the situation of development about on the Xbox One version? Like, what point are you on? Like there.
It's running on the Xbox. It has. It looks pretty good. The control system needs work to make it better. It's actually one thing I really like Zelda. I've been playing it on my Switch on my way to work on the bus, and I really like the way they do the hotbar selection.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to ask you now, right?
No, go ahead. Ask me.
Is there any chance that you guys are going to consider putting the game on Switch?
I'll ask you a question in return.
Yeah.
Do you think Conan Exiles would run on a console that only has 4 gigabytes of memory?
I don't know. I'm not a programmer. I mean, maybe not as good as but if it's scalable, maybe at the lowest settings, would it?
I won't. I can't speak to that. I have no idea.
Okay,
I can safely say we haven't spoken to Nintendo about it.
Okay, so there is no. Let's say there is no plan for the moment.
There is no current plan.
Okay,
but I love the Switch. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure from a developer point of view, that especially for a game like Conan Exiles that counts a lot on guarding your stuff, being able to bring it around would probably be beneficial, right?
Yeah, maybe we should make a version of Conan Exiles which you can play on the Switch where you just can defend your base. That'd be
cool. Tower defense Conan. Actually, is there going to be any cross network gameplay in Conan? Like when the Xbox version come out, is going to be both PC and Xbox on the same servers, or on completely separate servers?
We're discussing that a little bit with Microsoft. Well, the problem is everything we're doing in the game now is Steam-based. Uses Steam very heavily.
Of course.
But we can, for the Xbox version, what we want to do is make a server version that works with the Microsoft networking stuff so that you can you can, with Arc you need to have 2 Xboxes, one to run the game and one to play the game.
Okay, so basically you will be able to decide if to lean your server on Steam or on a Windows 10 Xbox combination, right?
What we're thinking is, we'd be able to make a Windows Store version of the server, and then if you have an Xbox and you want your own server, you can run it on your PC that has Windows Server Store, a store installed. So maybe we can allow PC players to play on that as well. It's
still in the making. You don't know.
Yeah, it's because I think then we have to sell the game on Windows Store to enable the Microsoft networking, which means that Steam players wouldn't be able to play with Windows players.
That's Store. like what was that game that caused a lot of controversy lately? That basically people couldn't play together. I was Call of Duty, right? If you bought the Windows Store version, you couldn't play with Steam players, so the PC community suffered for that. So
exactly. It's because Steam and Microsoft use different networking setups, basically. So we can make the Xbox version playable with Windows Store version, but I'm not sure we can make it playable with Steam version, which is
that's fair enough. Okay, well, sorry if I digressed a little bit. Whenever I have to finish an interview, that's when all the questions come to mind. That's always like that.
Just send an email if you have a lot more. It's fine. No problem.
That's fine. I'm done for now. I'm sure that as I play, I actually got to level 50 this morning.
Oh, congratulations!
So as I play, I'm sure more things will come out, and when I think I accrued enough, I'm going to give you a call.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you very much again,
right.
and can't wait to see where the game goes. So this was Giuseppe Nava from DualShockers with Joel Bylos from Funcom, and we had a nice chat, and hope you guys enjoyed it. See you all on Conan Exiles.